can they help?
We were heroin addicts, detective. We don't make plans. Plans are too pretty. We got too many bumps and bruises.
这个叫每个人都信怀愿曲，但是没有一个人敢开口。
Secrets they help me keep. They're destroying me.
你想问我有没有伤害Charlie？
我也不会是第一次了。我想我们两个都是学习不起。
我可没有不见得跑的东西。
这家里的人没有一个是无辜的。
Charlie had something to hide, and you have something to hide. But you know what? It will come out.
Don't you ever tell me what I have to do.
You know, people who do this sort of thing, they don't stop. They can't. Not until they die. Or somebody else does.
Well, I probably should be.
And also, director John Acue for season 1, he's French-Canadian from Montreal. So he too struggles between French and English identities, right? And having to work in Toronto, being a Francophone, Canadian director. So he totally understood the non-English struggle, like how we have to operate in an English-speaking world. So obviously his style is right there. John's style is all over the place. But in terms of not having Asian directors, also frees up talents like Fiona and BC in a way that you get to play a larger role in creating your own characters, right? I mean, you can speak to that, yeah.
Well, it's like most of the time the director or whatever, the crew, they watch us when we speak Mandarin or Cantonese. So only the time when we finish the scene and the camera guy or the director come to us see, we don't understand the language, but we feel touched. We know, what your emotions are. So this is kind of like, without the dialogue, even watch the performance, they knew what's going on. You get the scene or not get the scene.
Yeah. And also on scene, because director calls the shot, right? But not having a director who can speak the language almost inadvertently create that creative space for talents like you. So you can have a bigger say. So you know what? My character and his character is like this, Wei Ran Xie. I mean, her character's name is quintessential Chinese. Actually, I named her after our tenant. I just shot a good name. Yeah, she doesn't know, and she's an SAP professor. And the beauty of this is that obviously is unintentional. Mm-hmm. That the talents have a lot more say, because typically on a set, director calls the shot and it's very dictatorial. Not all directors are dictator-like, but because it's such an expensive creative process that you can't drag it out a 10-hour day, you cannot be 12-hour day. You have 150 people, the crew, and it's a unionized crew, right? You do the clock, right? If it goes 1 hour, I just want to jump off the building because that is expensive, 1 hour. So if you have someone who meanders, that basically there won't be season 2.
I did 8 scenes in 1 day, and it was this thick, the script, for 1 day, because they flew me out to Toronto to make sure that I'm not outstaying my welcome, to make sure that they know that he's not going to jump off the roof. He squeezed me in 1 day, and I did it within 8 hours.
You came back in one piece, so.
And I came back in one piece. But really, the director always, one thing that I felt very complimenting is that a lot of time when we do a scene, the director will, after it's done, the director Carl will just look at me and say, I have no idea what you are saying, but I know exactly what you are doing. I think that is something that's what happened. And so he always turned around and looked at the translator and said, did he say all the right thing? Are all the lines right? Yeah. And the translator said, absolutely right. And he said, okay, right. So that's how it's unintentional, but it's fun.
So I still don't quite understand why we are still underrepresented at the Hollywood, because I feel like, wow, China is so powerful right now, right? We're basically buying United States. So yeah, and we are a big market, and also, I mean, there is very good white directors, but we also have very good directors as well.
Yeah.
And also, look at Donald Trump. He's like China all the time, right? So I feel like we can have more representations in Hollywood, right? Yeah, can you guys speak to that?
Do you mind if I jump in first? I mean, a lot of it, China has censorship. You don't have the same creative freedom as you would have in Canada and the United States. So let's not make that mistake, because a lot of Chinese screenwriters can write great stories, but those stories can never leave the paper because the censorship readers are not a chance, right? So that alone, it hinders China's creativity, right? And that's why we get to write stories like this. I can tell you what, this story may never get past censorship in China, right? It would never, right? And so, is China buying America? Probably not, because you can buy the thing is, why we're underrepresented in Canada, because in Canada, obviously, Canadian projects tell Canadian stories, right? And after all, the Chinese Canadian population is about 1.2 million. It's 1.4 million. So it's 7% of the Canadian population. We're not 7% screen time, I can tell you that. We're probably barely 0.5%. And why are we underrepresented? Traditionally, we haven't been able to speak out, or there is no money, or there's no, because you make a project like this, and previously the project never make money, and then they turn up to be a grant given to filmmakers. So it's very hard to cut grant checks, because grant checks are always small, right? But if it's investment, if this project has a way to invest, recoup the money, even that is taxpayers' money, it's still taxpayers' money. They are accountable to the parliament, to the people. If you keep making projects like this with not a single penny in return, people don't like that, right? So you have to, before you turn the money, you have to break even first. So if you can't break even, you can't get funding like this. I mean, you don't pay taxes just to make movies, right? You want them to make great roads and great hospitals too, right? So, sorry, I'm being blunt.
Oh, you want blunt? I'll be blunt.
So,
Sorry, I'm very blunt, but I'm not. It's not me. The same question was asked to Gong Li, and she was blunt. Gong Li is a very famous Chinese actress known to the West. Also, she's famous in Europe, and she just said, "We Chinese make a lot." It was in Mandarin, and I'm just translating later on. Well, I will use in Mandarin exactly what she said. 我们中国拍了多少部电影？我们什么时候拍过什么好的角色给白人演的？自己讲自己的故事嘛。他们讲他们的故事，我们讲我们的故事啊。我们找了2个白人来演了2出戏。Adrian, what's Adrian and that's recently there were 2 movies that they invited， 也不卖钱啊，以后就没了。都是在讲市场嘛。Gong Li said, she said, how many movies were made in China now? Many. There's no roles for any white people either. Each one, everyone write their own story for themselves. And so we should write our own story. And there were 2 the movies inviting Western, I forgot the name, but two quite famous Hollywood Oscar-winning actors, and
Christian Bale.
Yeah, something like that, and it didn't make money, and that's it. That's the end of it. The producer would not invite them anymore because they did not make money, and if you don't write a good story for yourself, no one will write it for you.
Can I also add a comment? I also want to add a point in answer to your question, also to echo Ben. I think Asian diasporic story is also not the same as a Chinese story or an Indian story, and so, but I think it also represents a new possibility because it's exactly because of your interaction outside of home countries or countries of origin that something else happened. And I think so say an Asian Canadian story might not, I don't know if it would be marketable in say China, maybe not, maybe it will be, but what I want to say is it's actually not the same thing. So to kind of create a space for Asian diasporic representation, the discussion is different from saying just because there's a big Chinese market doesn't mean Asian diasporic representation will immediately be marketable. So I think that actually answers your question because it's not the same market.
It's so new that a lot of buyers don't know what to make of it. Buyers, I don't know whether it has market, right? And also, our own salespeople don't know how to sell it. In a sense, they don't know how to sell something like this because they're very used to selling traditional. They know here's the plot, here's this, and here are the no names, and boom, bang, boom, done. And give you the minimum, guarantee. They can't do an elevator pitch on this story, right? And they can't say it's a Chinese Canadian story. Or they immediately think of the struggles of railway workers and and the hacks and all that. That is not sexy to the market, so people would automatically pigeonhole this. But it's not that. So because it's like Chinese soprano. It's not quite that, right? So what is it? Is it certainly not Breaking Bad? And what is it? So you can't just. We are the first one eating a tomato, and no one says, "Ooh, it looks good," but I don't want to eat it first because it's my money you're talking about, right? So we're pushing it. We're trying to push to the online market, and hopefully the online market will ripple through. The online market tend to be a little bit more educated, more exposed to Chinese diaspora stories, and just like there's a lot of Bollywood productions targeting the South Asian diaspora that is not addressing the domestic viewership, but the UK South Asian, which is a massive number. In North America, Chinese has about almost close to 20 million people. So that's a mid-sized European country. It's not small, right? So together with the rest outside of mainland China, it's a sizable market. But this kind of product is too new. It's just too new.
But a smart thing you're doing, right, is you're telling stories that are quite universal. They're about family dynamics. They're about fear. They're about all the kinds of challenges that human beings face.
That's the only way to make it even sellable.
Yeah. So I mean, there's the diaspora element. There's the sort of even Vancouver element, but it's universalizable too.
Yeah, so to us, the diaspora element is a big deal to people in this room. But outside this room, people look at it as a human story.
It's a drama.
Right? Do I want to binge watch this on my iPad, via Netflix with a glass of wine in hand? That's what we want. Right? We want to, right?
Online is a new medium because now Netflix people watch Scandinavian crime show with subtitles. So I think it does create, in some way, a market that is much more familiar with multilingual genres. Korean movies. So I think now there is a global audience who's not afraid of reading subtitles.
So this is what we're trying to bank on, right? But season 1 is only half an hour per episode, so it's only 4 hours. It's not binge worthy from a Netflix point of view, that's why with 2 seasons combined, then people will binge it. Because 4 hours is it's not quite double bill, right? And I can't finish a whole bag of popcorn with 4 hours. But with 8 hours is a different story. So you can burn through a weekend with 8 hours. So all these seemingly insignificant factors is a big factor. When it comes to consumer marketing, it's a big deal, right? So we don't have enough. We only have 4 hours. So with this season 2 with 4 hours, and then
they can have me too.
we would create that kind of demand for it.
Are you a villain?
I know it can be boring for people who are not in this industry.
Okay, well, can we wrap it up here?
Yes.
And then people could go home and do their weekend binge watching.
It's bingeable.
So I'd like to thank you all.